All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I just covered these two a couple of videos ago. I'm switching the order for kind of obvious reasons, but I still really do want to talk about both of them, all right? So SOUN, beautiful, beautiful day. My last video basically said we were going to head up to the next resistance line. All we're doing is riding the 8 moving average like a champion, up, 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 right? I have to zoom out a lot so you can see it, but yeah, 1070, that is still my next expectation. There's even a decent chance at that 12 line after, but hey, can't think about that 12 line until we get over that first line, right? So loving what I'm seeing. MACD is super positive. 77, we're getting a little close to that 80-ish, RSI. I start to get a little worried, but again, I've been saying it over the last few videos. When the market is this good, I'm willing to bend some of my normal rules because, again, the oceans are calm. It is okay to just swim a little deeper than we normally would without that worry like we would normally have, right? So really, really liking all of this right here, right? KULR, there's definitely a couple different things going on, all right? I am 100% going to talk about the offering, and I say it every single time. I like offerings if the terms are good. Okay, on this screen right here, there's absolutely nothing that talks about share count. I know float is really important to a lot of people. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? And I really, really am okay with more shares. I don't need a low float as long as the terms of the offering are good. Look, personally, I would rather a company that I'm investing in take debt with shares than take debt with a bad loan to the bank. You know what I mean? I would rather get one big lump of money, take some shares, let me do really good things with that money, and I don't owe anyone any monthlies, I don't have any balloon payments after this and that, right? So I didn't look at the details, but I'm not here saying offerings are bad. Generally, market gets a little bit upset, and I'll talk about that for sure. But look, we are still holding the 8 moving average. There was a good little fear today, and it actually slips just below it, right? You can see it on the lower wick. And again, I'll talk about the offering, immediate consequences, I would call it. But again, that's never a real deal breaker for me as long as the terms are okay. But yeah, excited to talk about both of these for sure. But before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal, I got to zoom out for all the other ones, right? But there are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, SOUN, look, I love technical analysis because end of the day, it gives me a way to set expectations. And one big thing that I've come to learn is you go away from the 8, you come to the 8. You go away from the 8, you come to the 8. And so on and so forth. And as long as we just hold the line, it'll be okay. Sometimes we might slip below, but hey, that's why we use the 8 and the 20 together, right? They are a stock's best friend when they're good. And hey, don't forget, they are the worst enemy at times. And hey, SOUN has seen, especially in the beginning, literally months and months and months of living under the line, right? So with the good, there's always the bad. And hey, it's important to be on the better side of the lines, at least in my technical opinion, right? I started the video with it, not really started, but I did mention, I'm going to at least highlight it. Look, as we get closer and closer to 80 on the RSI, I start ringing a little bit of an alarm bell. Okay, the one interesting thing with here, and I've been drawing it and deleting it, drawing it and deleting it, but look, we really have been struggling, and I'll raise it even just a little bit more because there's a sliver of green right there, right? But we basically, since the summer, haven't gotten over the 80 line. And as I go back and back and back, really in the entire year, this is pretty much the entire view of the year, there was what? That little moment and that little moment, right? Let's call it a month. That's not really a full month. That's not even the rest of it, right? I think half a month in the entire 11 months plus. We're actually in the 12th month now of trading, right? So Soundhound's oddly been unable to get over 79. And again, I think I'm going to leave it here for now, but yeah, I'll leave it here for now. Why not? But I'm still here thinking we're going to keep going up. I'm here focusing on being over all 5 moving averages, bouncing on the 8 and the 20. Our MACD continues to be positive. It continues to diverge, right? Again, diverge just means 2 lines going away. I see the green getting ready to go a little bit more up, and that's not the same slope as that red one, right? And then what I really like is today's volume. Okay, clearly this was the biggest. If you look out from there, this was the second biggest, and that's actually not even the right line. It's basically, right, again, whatever, you get it, right? Since we've broken all and flown, today was the second biggest day of that. And I like that. I really, really do. Because again, volume is king, right? Volume is queen for the ladies watching this. And volume tends to fix things, and it tends to just keep things going and going. And hey, the entire time, we've pretty much never lost that 50 average line, right? It's at least giving me average, oftentimes way better, and good volume behind that way better, right? So at the moment, look, I've got nothing more to expect than to hit this 1070. I do believe, and you know, I haven't shown it yet, but NASDAQ looks great, right? Let me just zoom in real quick. NASDAQ is actually now gapping up. That's how strong this thing is, right? NASDAQ is only at a 60 RSI, and I'm obviously looking at QQQ. It's just easier to type, right? But NASDAQ looks exactly the same. Same gap up, same 60 RSI, beautiful MACD, positive by a lot, good divergence, good divergence. Look at that volume, all and living over the golden line. All I'm saying is amazing things for NASDAQ, and to me, it makes it real easy to ignore the 77. And I don't want to use the word ignore. I think that's a little too blunt a word. I think it's okay to overlook it, to allow the goodness of everything else to you know, overcompensate or compensate. I don't know which one is correct, right? But yeah, I like everything else so much. I like the index behind it so much. You know, I'm here really actually expecting it to finally smash the 79. I know I said it right here and I was actually wrong, right? But I think the one cool thing is, even though we're not getting over it, we're still maintaining an uptrend and going, right? So believe me, I want the RSI to keep going. I've been showing, I don't know if you're watching the quantum ones, right? But QUBT, this thing goes from a 90 down to basically a 70, 80 just to go back up, right? On Q, I don't need to go through the rest, and these are actually not looking as good as I was expecting them to on the example. But I've seen a bunch that are going from the 90s to the 80s back to the 90s. You know what I mean? From the 80s to the 70s back to the 80s, and you know what I mean? So I'm ready for this thing to stop going from the 70s to the 50 to the 70 to the 50 to the 70 to the 50. But hey, end of the day, like I said, what really does matter more is what the uptrend is doing, and I'll give that credit to the 8 moving average just riding us up, right? So I mentioned the 12 line a little bit on the opening thoughts. Look, don't focus on 12 just yet. I know it's not a big distance to there, but it really does need to break that line. Let me kind of come show this IPO moment. Look, if there's one thing I've come to learn is the IPO, oops, right here, this is perfect. The IPO candles are actually really important. And these two are essentially, and not even essentially, it literally is the only good green candle in the first pop before obviously everything else that we're now below, right? This is the only green candle that matters in the IPO moment, okay? And to me, I actually should even raise that line. What does this thing open at? This thing opens at 1093. Let's make this one 1093. So now obviously my 10, come on. Let's take it to 11. Oh, my num lock was there. Duh. 10.93. Okay, that's the better line. And then I'm going to raise this just a little bit to closer 50%. I think that's my 50% line. This is our next golden line. If we break 1260, okay, obviously that's not all-time highs. Obviously we've been as high as 18. If we break 1260, this is now in my eyes in all green, 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 red, 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 nothing, nothing, nothing. It will go wild over that. Okay. Do not focus on that until we can break that 1093. The open of this candle will be harder to break than it should be. But again, that's just one little, difficult hiccup in an otherwise my thing is frozen. Come on, what's going on? Don't freeze on me, baby. I want to finish this and I'm not going to. Either way, the answer one more time is that's a difficult candle to get over. There we go. It didn't freeze on me. Don't underestimate that line, okay? Let's go to the weekly. I don't even think I need to go to the weekly. Look, we're over all the moving averages. RSI is still at a pretty healthy, I don't want to say healthy, right? Again, I would be ringing the alarms at 80, but man, I've been so lenient on the RSI on every single video. I'm going to do it again here on the weekly, right? And it seems like volume could be better. I would love volume to be a little bit better, but hey, we've been very, very nicely living on that 50 average line, and you can clearly see it's actually going up too. So it's still doing okay volume wise on the weekly. But yeah, I'm liking SoundHound. Let's see how it reacts to that green IPO candle. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. KURL. Let's come into KULR. And there's a few things I'm going to talk about on KULR. I'm for sure going to talk about the offering. I'm very, very much going to spend a few minutes on this Monday candle right here, okay? And I'm probably going to start right here. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is, hey, okay, no, I'm gonna. I had. I don't even know why I did that intro. Real quick, hey, if you can subscribe, if you can share, I appreciate it. Let's just jump into everything. Okay, first off, we're still over the moving averages. Okay, the one thing you hear me talk about is you go away from the 8, you come to the 8. Sometimes you go away from the 8 and you horizontally come to the 8. Sometimes you take off and unfortunately you come down to the 8, right? The down to the 8 was a little bit on the tough side, just looking at the percentages, right? But hey, we're still holding the moving averages, and that right there is a big fundamental part of a lot of it, all right? We are still very much doing better than this big candle to the left too, all right? So on a couple just real quick technical things, as a baseline, things aren't too bad. This candle right here would have been a very big warning, all right? And I was on vacation. We actually extended it on Monday. It was just a quick little thing, and I feel bad not making this video. But look, there are two different green candles for a reason. And when I click into this Monday, you can see it was a 21% gain, right? Which makes sense. We were down here at $1.16, and then we go all the way up to here, right? We close at 141. That's clearly a big gap up and a big 21% gain right there. The problem is this is not a good candle, and I intentionally make sure to distinguish between these so that I don't get fooled. Again, I'm not here pretending to be that smart, right? It is real easy to see something that says it's a 21% gap up and think to yourself, oh, that's great. Look how close it was to the resistance line. Oh, that's great, right? No, the issue is, look in the box over there. We open at a dollar. I was gonna say at 100 at $1.63, and we fall all the way down to $1.41. 10% is 16 cents. That's more than a 20-cent drop right there. More people lost 10% or more on this day than they made that 21% that you see when you just look at the close versus close. This is not a good day. This was a beautiful day, right? This one, look at the box. It opens at 70 and it goes all the way up to $1.16 close. That's a good green candle. That's a bad green candle. And this starts to worry me. I don't talk a lot about like candle shapes. Shooting star. Sorry, this is the only way I know how to get to it. Shooting star is what it seems to be called. Look, I don't know if it should be called an abandoned baby top. I don't know if it should be called a shooting star. I don't know if it should be called a hanging man. There are, in my opinion, this is a doji, and it's a scary doji because of the way it opened and closed. On top of the fact that, hey, it did have a pretty high RSI of an 82, right? Now, on all the video, literally, if you just watch the SoundHound video, you hear me say things like I'm willing to accept an 82 and maybe consider the RSI going up and this and that, right? Again, this is where you start to think about other places. You can see that even just without the open to close thing, this thing didn't get over the resistance, right? It closed a couple cents below. The day after actually closes a little bit below this, right? So not only do we fail this, we actually don't regain any of that candle on Monday, right? From there is where the offering news happened. I think the offering accelerated a lot of things. Truth be told, I think if the offering didn't happen, we might have lived on that 148 until this thing came up. You know what I mean? So maybe it was the offering that did bring it down a little bit more. But hey, these two on their own, they do bring a little like, hey, check it out, right? But look, MACD was actually still pretty nice. Volume was actually still pretty nice on that Monday. Tuesday is maybe when things could have gotten a little worrisome, but yeah, the offering accelerated some stuff. And let's talk about the offering real quick. To me, and I said this in the opening thoughts, I would much rather the company I believe in take debt through shares than take debt through a personal or a third party loan, right? I don't want them to have to pay monthly and have just throw some shares at someone, have them give you a big chunk of millions and hope that the CEO, hope that the operating, plans and all that just accelerate because you now have basically, I don't want to use the word free money, right? But it kind of is free money, right? And when I say you, I mean the stock. When the stock was only at 15 cents at the beginning of the year, and you tell me you made an offering when the thing was all the way up at $1 plus, to me, man, even if the offering was as low as 90 cents, even if the offering was as low as 60 cents, and I don't know what it was, like I didn't read any of it. But hey, if someone was gonna buy it here and it wasn't that high not that long ago, that's money in the bank. And again, just hopefully they do good things, right? Hopefully this a lot look. I've been pumped about the government contracts, right? The last thing you want to do is lose the military contracts. They are not going to be patient. They are not going to be, lenient with mess ups and this and that, right? And ideally, KULR is going to use the money from this offering to just fulfill every single obligation that it has to the Navy, to whatever other branches they might have. Hopefully it can accelerate some R&D and gain some other, right? Like, nothing here, nothing on my screen, nothing, and obviously you've never seen it and you're kind of just taking my word, but nothing on my personal, the one and the two talks about share count. I am not hurt. I am not sad that the float moved. None of that matters to me. What I care about is actually what I started with. We're still over the moving averages. We're still holding the 8. I think I add a little bit of worry, and I think I have to at least put a 92-cent target. Because really, the one thing I've seen, and again, as positive as I just was about everything with that offering, the market tends to not like offerings immediately. Everything I just said has a lot of time to be proven, right? We're at least going to need to wait maybe 2 earnings calls, right? We're going to need them to get the money. We're going to need them to use the money. We're going to need them to see some initial results from the money and to set some initial guidances from the next steps that will come from that first set of results, right? There's a lot of things that need to happen after the offering to really know if it was good, to really know if it's being utilized and this and that, right? That tends to bring a little bit of worry. That makes me at least believe, I think that lower wick right there that just slipped below it, I think that's a real legitimate concern. I do. All right. And I think because of that, I'm going to say 92 cents, just under the 8 and pretty much 50% of this big candle. I did start with, I love how much of the candle we maintained. it really, right, we, if you can at least hold 50% of a big candle, there is strength to that. There really is. I think I'm now getting a little concerned with the volume. And man, I was just getting excited from it, and I don't know, right? I'm here to just prove me wrong, KULR. I would love it, right? But at the moment, I think I would not. If I look, I don't think it's going to continue up until we break. Let me see if there's a line before 148. I could, no, that's too far out. What are you? All right, I'll use this. Maybe 134 is an interesting reattempt. For me, I would just wait for 150 to break at this point. I would, because if 92 is lost, it will be a fast fall close to 65. Maybe I'm going to raise that 65 to here. That's basically the bottom of that and 50% of that. I think if we lose 92, 73 will be next. Roughly speaking, that's probably where the 20 moving average is going to meet as well. So I think 92 cents and 73 cents are my two lines down. I think 92 can hold, so there hopefully will be some good strength there. Personally, like I said, maybe one. What's this open right here? Sorry, what's the close? 141. Maybe 141 is a decent place, but again, at that point, I would just wait a couple pennies and go from there. If it gets over 148, I'll draw the next line up. It'll be this. It'll be that. No, not that one. It should be that. I wanted the top of that. Looks like it's the top of that. Looks like it's the bottom of that. That's a good line. I would wait for 148 to break and ride that to almost 190. That's a beautiful move right there. That's every 14, 30, 45. Yeah, that's almost a 30% move right there, right? So, yeah, I have no problem with the offerings. Please let me know if you read the terms. Let me know what the offering price was. Again, one more time, this was a 15, this was below 15. This was as low as 11 cents a share in the beginning of the year. For them to sell shares anywhere up here and get millions at a single moment from that, that's not that bad in my book, you know what I mean? Especially if you're long and strong. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.